Al-Shara stresses that he did not think at any moment to leave the homeland to any direction. And the Syrian armed forces continue to pursue terrorists and foil border infiltration attempts. Lavrov affirms that solving the crisis in Syria should be based on respecting the international norms. Good afternoon. A press statement issued by Vice President Farouk Shara's office stressed that he did not think at any moment to leave the homeland to any direction. The press release said that Al-Shara was working since the start of the crisis in Syria, particularly as the consultative meeting held in Damascus by a presidential decree on July 10, 2011, with all the different parties to end the bloodshed with the aim of launching a political process in the framework of a comprehensive dialogue to achieve a national reconciliation that maintains the country's territorial integrity, independence and the regional safety far from any foreign military intervention. The statement stressed that Al-Shara welcomed the appointment of Al-Akhdar al-Brahimi, expressing support to his commitment to obtain a unified stance by the Security Council to achieve his difficult mission without obstacles. The Syrian Arab Armed Forces continued pursuing terrorists who intimidated the civilians in a number of neighborhoods in the city of Aleppo. They continued to cleanse Sayf al-Dawla neighborhood from terrorists, inflicting huge losses on them, confiscating their weapons and ammunition, and dismantling many explosive devices they had already planted. A source in the Aleppo city said that the armed forces confronted an armed terrorist group near the Faculty of Sciences in Aleppo, inflicting big losses among the terrorists and arresting others. The source added that a unit of the army killed and wounded dozens of terrorists near the radio area in Aleppo city. The source went on to say that another unit of the Syrian Arab army clashed with terrorists near Al-Huda Mosque in Sayf al-Dawla area in Aleppo, killing and injuring a number of them. An official source in Al-Hasake security forces set an ambush for an armed terrorist group driving a car on Qamishli-Hasake highway, according to the source, as they were informed that 3 terrorists were smuggling weapons in a car. An official source said that the 3 terrorists were arrested and their weapons were seized, including 20 rifles. Security forces also arrested 5 terrorists who were driving a truck in Abu Rasain area in Al-Qamishli. The source added that 29 Russian rifles and 21 bomb-action guns and sniper rifles were also seized. In Homs, security forces exploded a warehouse of weapons and ammunition for the armed terrorist groups in Jurat al-Shayyah neighborhood, killing a big number of terrorists inside it. In Al-Furuqlus in Homs countryside, security forces pursued a car carrying several terrorists and arrested them, seizing their weapons. The confiscated weapons included 57 Russian machine guns, 3 RPG launchers and other weapons. Units of the Syrian armed forces last night foiled an attempt by 2 terrorist groups to infiltrate into Syrian territories through Halat and Al-Arida points in Tel Kalakh, Homs countryside. A source in Homs said that the clashes with the 2 terrorist groups led to the killing of members of one of the groups, while the second group suffered heavy losses. The source added that security forces destroyed a car equipped with Dushka machine guns and the terrorists inside it at Al-Buraniya village in Al-Qsair countryside. The presidential political and media advisor Hussein Shaban underlined that China's principled stance based on the UN Charter and its rejection of any foreign intervention in the country's internal affairs protects the states from the war's disasters. Dr. Shaban was speaking at a meeting with a number of Chinese researchers and academics interested in the Middle East affairs, presenting an explanation on the current events in Syria. She briefed the researchers on the continuous efforts Syria exerts in cooperation with the friendly countries to come out of the crisis through a national dialogue that paved the way for a political solution. The Chinese academics underlined that Syria has the right to combat terrorism and defend its sovereignty, regretting the negative role of some media that instigate violence and the West's exploitation of human rights mottos. Russian Foreign Minister affirmed that Moscow expects the new UN envoy to Syria, Lakhdar al-Brahimi, to depend on the plan put by his predecessor Kofi Annan, the Geneva Statement on Syria, and the relevant UN Security Council resolutions. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stressed that his country rejects imposing a no-fly zone over Syria, asserting that it will constitute a violation of Syria's sovereignty. Lavrov added that solving the crisis in Syria should be based on respecting the international norms, the integrity of the Syrian territories, and not interfering in the internal affairs of the countries. He stressed that the Russian-Chinese veto against the UN draft resolutions against Syria came to defend the UN principles, especially respecting the unity and sovereignty of the countries and not interfering in their internal affairs, and implementing the UN Security Council resolution. Gennady Gatilov, Deputy Russian Foreign Minister, announced that ending the international observers' mission in Syria deprives the international community from getting objective information on what is taking place there, and it will have negative consequences. Gatilov pointed out that the international presence in Syria will continue as the UN will open an office there to follow up the field conditions and encourage the Syrian parties to stop bloodshed as soon as possible and start a political process. He added that the mandate of the new UN office in Syria allows the introduction of changes depending on security conditions there. Russia expressed hope that the new UN envoy to Syria, Lakhdar al-Brahimi, will take part in the next meeting of the International Group on Syria, which was scheduled to be held yesterday and was postponed upon a request from Western countries. Russia's permanent representative to the UN, Vitaly Churkin, stressed in a statement that a draft statement which gives all parties in Syria time to stop violence and start dialogue was supposed to be discussed during the meeting of the group. The Russian official pointed out that a number of the group members expressed readiness to take part in the meeting, but Western sides offered various reasons leading to postponing the meeting. Head of Shura Iranian Council Ali Larijani stressed that suspending Syria's membership in the Organization of Islamic Conference, OIC, is an evidence that some countries serve the interests of the West. Larijani pointed out that the enemy's schemes targeting Syria must be monitored during the current critical conditions, because the West aims at destroying the resistance in the region, pointing out that claims of some countries and Arab leaders on defending human rights and democracies are ironic. He underlined that the nature of the Islamic awakening focuses on saving Jerusalem. He considered schemes presented by some Arab and Western countries during the past years following the occupation of Palestine did not take into account any of the Palestinian rights and only gave the opportunity to Zionists to occupy more Palestinian lands, kill and make more Palestinians homeless. Spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry expressed hope that the new UN envoy to Syria, Lakhdar al-Brahimi, will continue to reach a solution for the crisis in the country through diplomatic channels, as well as implementing the plan of Kofi Annan and recommendations of Geneva meeting to realize a peaceful and just solution for this crisis. He added that China will actively support efforts of al-Brahimi for political mediation, pointing out that al-Brahimi is a competent diplomat and suitable candidate to hold this position. Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah, Secretary General of the Hezbollah Party, underlined that developments in each year in the Islamic world keeps these countries away from the cause of Jerusalem, adding that Muslims need to, in each year, especially in Ramadan, to remind ourselves of principles and responsibilities regarding Jerusalem. He stressed that politics and conflicts cannot affect the stand towards Palestine and Jerusalem. Nasrallah pointed out that some Arabs are trying to destroy the resistance access to achieve goals of the Zionist enemy. He threatened of hitting this enemy very accurately and putting an end to its delusions in being very strong. With this, we conclude our news for today. For more news and details, you can visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Stay with us after the break.